أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد. Selamun Alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Inshallah everyone is doing great. We will continue with Surah Yasin inshallah. I just realized that I have a funny background. Let me correct it. Sorry, this is from another meeting. Okay, let's keep it. I don't want to try to change it now. So we will continue with Surah Yasin, and inshallah we will continue with the Surah, the Ayah 28. But before that, let's make a recap, like a quick recap, what we studied, especially regarding the last part, not from the beginning. I have one favor that I have to ask you. So I know I always ask you to contribute and make comments, but today is a little special because I had like 4 meetings in succession around 4 or 5 hours, no break. And I was the one who had to present talk most in all meetings. So I'm kind of, like a zombie right now. So I would appreciate if you can really help me and, contribute, make comments. I hope we won't need me to make the presentation, but we will have you, inshallah. So, okay, let's start from the story. I will just read it and then continue with the 28, inshallah. I will just read the English translation. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, and set forth unto them a parable of the people of a township when message bearers come unto them, messengers come unto them. Lo, we sent unto them two, and they gave the lie to both. And so we strengthened with a third, and thereupon they said, behold, we have been sent unto you. Others answered, you are nothing but mortal men like ourselves. Moreover, the most gracious Rahman has never bestowed anything from on high. You do nothing but lie. Our sustainer knows that we have indeed been sent unto you, but we are not bound to do more than clearly deliver the message. Truly we foresee evil from you. Indeed, if you desist not, we will surely stone you, and grievous suffering is bound to befall you at our hands. Messengers replied, your destiny, good or evil, is with yourselves. If you are told to take the truth to heart, does it seem evil to you if you are told to take the truth to heart? Nay, you are people who have wasted their own selves. And there came from the farthest end of the city a man running. He said, O my people, follow the messengers. Follow those who do not ask of you payment, and they are guided. And why should I not worship he who created me and to whom you will be returned. Should I take other than him deities, idols, if the most merciful Rahman intends for me some adversity? Their intercession will not avail me at all, nor can they save me. Indeed, I would then be in manifest error. Indeed, I have believed in your Lord, so listen to me. It was said, enter paradise. He said, I wish my people could know of how my Lord has forgiven me and placed me among the honored. So far we discussed until this part, and we will continue with 28, as I said. Is there any volunteer to give us a very quick summary of the story so far, as it narrated, and how it is related to ourselves? Very, the short one, only touching upon the most important parts, to the extent, of course, you remember. Okay, it's obvious that people are not that dedicated to help me, except Yusuf. Yusuf, please, go ahead.
Okay, sorry. So, yes, the story was, it was a story, so it was meant to be a metaphor. Uh, and it started with the people of a town, and this is going to be a metaphor for the revelation and the messengers and resurrection. So this is the purpose of this metaphor being given. It talked about those messengers coming to a town, and they are being denied, like three messengers coming to the town, one after the other, to support each other, but they are being denied or claimed as they're simply lying by the people of the town. Then there was a conversation that we discussed between them. They were bringing up some evidences for them being messengers. But those people that deny them are simply, first of all, denying that messengers are simply humans like them. So there's no concept of messengerhood other than flesh and bones. This is, I guess, one of the identifying properties of the first type of personality that denies. And then the second property of them was they were saying the most merciful does not reveal anything anyways. So they are also categorically denying possibility of revelation. And then messengers said that you are just wasteful, you're wasting. And when we were discussing this, we said everything. So we were saying that this could have been a human messengers we are talking about. This was one way to read that story. The other way to read it was the whole life with all its experiences could have been taken as messengers from the Creator. But if I take the attitude of the first group of people, uh, simply a car crash is going to be a car crash for me. It's not coming from, it's not a message bearer from the merciful one to me. It is simply some random act of a drunk person. Then came a fourth person, and this fourth person was just a man from the far end of the city. So when we were discussing this, we said this man is, he doesn't hold any titles, he's just a man. And he was coming from the other end of the city, maybe indicating that he doesn't have any titles, or he's not one of the like elderly or people with authority. He's just a normal human. So this being the case, he was more open to the messages. So now reading it to myself, to the extent that I hold on to some titles, I am closing myself to the messengers and the message because I don't want to lose those privileges that I get within society. And I guess this is why, as we were speaking, the society, the city, the town is being mentioned in here. So our location, our position within the society might be a hindrance for us to be open to the message. So this was another one. So then this second person, like the fourth person actually, this man was trying to convince his people, and he was telling us some hints, saying that if you do not follow the message, so if I do not follow the messenger, shall I not worship my uh, Lord? So not following the messenger, he equated it to not worshiping the creator. So apparently it's not that much of a big deal in the surface, you just don't accept some messenger. But this fourth person was saying that not following the messenger means not worshiping the creator. So this was something important from last week, as I remember. Then there was this mentioning of paradise. I'm not getting into too many of details. So after achieving this level of understanding, being open to message and the messenger, this person became aware of the fact that actually the whole existence has an eternal aspect. It's a message, the whole thing. So the fleeting life is nothing but manifestation of an eternal sun, if you like. So the gates of paradise opened to that person while he was living on earth. So this was, I guess, our conclusion from last week. And we can take it.
Jazakallah khairan. So when we take this story, apply to our lives, we see how, like what in some moments we act like the people of the town, denying all the message barriers, all the messengers coming to us and trying to tell us something, denying them, ridiculing them, or treating them as mere events, as mere, just the people. If we apply it to like the messenger, the literal messenger, the prophet, then we treat them as wise people. We treat them as great strategician, whatever the word, right word, the great politician, great statements, great philosophers, great scientists. But we do not treat them as messengers. We do not treat them as carrying something from up high. They are people like us, and I am a person, so they have their they have their opinion. Maybe it is, the wider in terms of the scope. Maybe it is more reliable than my view, at least currently. But if I can work harder, if I can work hard, I may get something better than her or him. This is the usual attitude we have. So we do deny messengers. Say, whether it is the literal messenger carrying us divine speech, or say it is a messenger carrying us the meaning of a certain event. What we should understand from what happens to us. A feeling, for instance, we have is a messenger from God. But what we say instead, we say, no, this is just a feeling. It's there because, I ate too much meat today, so I feel, unease. A feeling is just a feeling. It's just a mere product of some physiological events, physiological actions taking place in my body. It's not a messenger that needs to be read, that needs to be listened and sent up high from my creator. And when I do listen messengers, when I do see that everything happens around me is created by all-wise creator who controls everything, when I see the creation, when I see my life as such, then I find myself in a state in which I can get a glimpse of what is narrated in Quran as heaven. I have this peace of mind in life while living, saying that yes, the heaven which is narrated in Quran must be true, because I'm having this glimpse of it. And when such thing happens, when I follow messengers, when I follow the Sharia of Prophet, apply it in my life, when I transform every individual, like every mundane moment of my life, any insignificant detail about my life, whether I grow a beard, whether I wear a certain cap or not, when I make such decisions, thinking, how would my creator want me to do, act me how would my creator want me to act if I have this question in my mind, and I follow with this question the Sharia, that the ruling that prophethood, the prophet brought. When I follow his example, I find myself in the presence of my creator. This is one way. At another layer, I find myself in a state of heaven or heavenly creation, when I realize that everything around me, whatever happens, it's a message carrier, it's a message messenger. So I should listen to them. I should try to understand what it means. So I should try to listen what my creator tells me. Then life becomes all meaningful, all purposeful creation by the all-wise creator. And let's continue with 28, inshallah. Abdurrahman, would you like to read the Arabic parts for us? And then maybe after you, Aishanur can read the English, if you are available, of course.
Okay, sure. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وما أنزلنا على قومه من بعده من جند من السماء وما كنا منزلين إن كانت إلا صيحة واحدة فإذا هم خامدون.
And we did not send down upon his people after him any soldiers from the heaven, nor would we have done so. It was not but one shout, and immediately they were extinguished.
Thank you both. And we didn't send down upon his people after him any soldiers from the heaven, nor would we have done so. So as we discussed last week, traditional narration, traditional understanding, or historical understanding of these verses tells us that this guy who warned his people, he was stoned as well, just like the messengers, and he dies. Thus, the people of his town or city did something terrible, so deserving to be extinguished or destroyed. But the God did not send any soldier from the heaven, but he heard a shout, the incredible sound, and they were just extinguished. So this is the historical narration. But as we said almost every week, that we are disinterested in historical narration here. We are agnostic whether such an event really happened or not because we think this history doesn't it's not worth to be studied, or we don't care about the religious history, whatever, but only because we take what Quran says to us very serious, and we want to follow the path the Quran suggests us to follow. And in this surah, Yasin, it is explicitly said that, and set forth unto them a parable. So whatever you read next, it's nothing but a parable. You shouldn't care what these men were wearing, what kind of city it was, when all these things happened, or whether the guy killed or not. Just look at the message I'm narrating to you. And whatever I say, it's something that I tell to you, like specifically I'm talking to you. So do not take my verses, this is from another part of the Quran, do not take my verses as stories of previous old generations. Thus, we follow this suggestion given to us by Quran itself, and say that, okay, we are disinterested whether this guy was killed or not. It's not mentioned in Quran. So I'm not who am I to fill in the blanks? So there shouldn't be any blank in the speech of my creator. So I will try to listen carefully and try to implement whatever narrated here in my life, and see whether it makes sense to me within the context of my own life, within the scope of my experiences. So if something narrated here does not fit to what I experience in life, that means it's not from the creator of my life. So this is my expectation. My creator, when he speaks to me, I expect that whatever he says, he tells to me, would resonate again within the context of my own life. My creator wouldn't, so I'm sorry to be frank, but my creator wouldn't waste my time giving me some historical information that wouldn't benefit me in any part of my life. So whatever said here, whatever narrated here, is there to guide me. Every single sentence, every single word is there to guide me. This is the attitude we take. So we didn't send down upon his people after him any soldiers from the heaven, nor would we have done so. Or I guess we can take it as nor that this is the thing that we do. Or it was not even necessary. So what do you think about that? Like, why, first of all, now this verse is talking about soldiers from the heaven, or giving a glimpse of a destruction? Why is this so? Why do you think? Ayşenur and Abdurrahman, please.
So the idea in my mind is, these people are saying that there is no message, there is no speech. These things are not more meaningful than they just happened. You know, they just happen to be this way. You're reading too much into it. This is their approach, but this is my approach with my life. So I'm looking for something almost, let's say, fantastical. I'm looking for something to blow me away, or you know, and what would that be? And in some ways, I think that my creator is saying, you know, you expect soldiers to come down from heaven or from the skies. In one sense, this is like a very, you know, this is something that you cannot deny, or you have this image of, let's say, a God or a creator in your mind, and instead of like looking at the experiences around you and the world that you are living in, you imagine like, if there was a God, then soldiers would come down from the skies. The skies would open and something else would happen, or life would not be this way, it would be that way. You start making assumptions of what life would a God would be like. So I think like this is my creator telling me, like, you expect something crazy to happen in the world, or you expect something odd to happen, and then you'll say that is a messenger, or then you'll say this is God's action. You don't look at the mundane things and think that there is God's action there. You're expecting something else. And similarly, when you expect to be punished, or when you expect to be, you know, you're not a messenger, it's like, okay, now come prove me wrong or something. Like you expect, like, if, you know, like if it's truly not a message, you expect like a punishment to come in like a maybe fantastical way, and you're like making fun of it. You're like, oh, maybe are you gonna send some, is God going to send soldiers to help you? Or you know, you make fun of a message comes in, you're making fun of it. So basically the idea is like, you know, it doesn't have to be fantastical, just as you know, just as like the message itself, it might seem mundane, it might come from areas that you never believed, and you might not even appreciate it. The punishment actually, or let's say the harm that you're going to get, is not something external to the message either. The harm is all, actually, maybe you could even say like the harm is within you not being able to accept it as a message. It's not that you deny the message and then another harm comes from somewhere else. I think that rather the harm is in that you're denying the message itself and you're missing out on that. So those are just my scattered thoughts about this.
I also wanted to just add a tidbit there. I was thinking about how I could make sense of what soldiers from the heaven mean, or soldiers from the sky, or, you know, just, and when I think of soldiers act upon another's authority, and they are usually there to enforce something. So I mean, at least in terms of like the story that we've been following, you know, the messengers come and they've kind of ridiculed him or denied him, and here I just feel like it's saying, after I should have chosen to not see the meaning in something, or I've chosen to ignore the messenger in either an event or interaction or any sort of experience, I've made my choice. There isn't going to be anything, some divine enforcement of it. Like, I've made my choice. There isn't going to be any compulsion of, you know, of otherwise. And once I have made my choice to ignore the messengers in my life and ignore the meaningfulness that surrounds me, then I lead myself into destruction or extinguishment. You know, I bring about it with that choice that I've made. And I guess just going back to that first verse there, it says, nor would we have done so. I just feel like there's an extra emphasis there that interests me. So I don't know what other people are thinking, but that was, thanks.
Yusuf, please go ahead.
This reminds me of a conversation that I was watching a few weeks back. So there was like a professor, he's not a believer, and he is actually an active atheist. Let me put it this way. It's not like he is, oh, I don't believe in whatever. He is like a prophet of atheism. So he is categorically against the idea of God or messenger. But I mean, this person being a scientist, he says, the other person who is interviewing him asked the question. He says, since we are scientists and we are the people of questioning, so when and how will we believe in God? Because since we are now believing that God does not exist, whatever, this idea should also be nullifiable, right? So he said yes. His response was, if there happens to be a miracle, and when miracle says like soldiers or an army coming from the sky is like a miracle, something extraordinary, something that you wouldn't expect, he said, then I would believe. Then the interviewer asked the question, would you really believe in such a case? Or would you say, yeah, I have never seen this before, but there must be an explanation of this, so let me go and find an answer for that. Like, how does this happen? What because this is a phenomena that's happening in the nature, so there must be an explanation for that, so let me go and see. So what I'm seeing in here is, because the emphasis in here is army coming from the skies, sama. So sama is like a specific word that Quran uses for referring to the eternal aspect of the creation. So for a mindset, if I deny that there is message and there is messengers, there is no sama for me. It's all about ard, it's all about the earth, or quote unquote universe, nature. So in such a case, there is no sama, there is no sky, so there is no armies to come down from the skies. So it's whatever comes, let it be an earthquake, let it be a promotion, it's going to be on earth for me. So the creator is as if saying that for these mindset, we are not going to send them armies from the skies. And even if this was to be happen, it wouldn't, from their point of view, from my point of view, if I am that person, I would take it just as another random act. It's not going to be coming to me from the skies, because there's no skies for me. I am from the very beginning denying this. Therefore, such a thing wouldn't benefit me at all in any shape or form.
Thank you, everyone. Jazakallah khairan. So this the idea of distraction or idea of maybe punishment, or like there is no mention of punishment in this verse yet. So the idea of this extraordinary response, why it is there, like why it is followed by the previous verse, which says, enter paradise, I wish my people could know of how my Lord has forgiven me and placed me among the honored. So there is the option, opportunity to follow the messenger. And it's not the only opportunity, like the verses mention two messengers strengthened by the third, and then another person almost pushing us, giving all the opportunities to follow the message, to follow the reality, to listen the creation. But what we do, we instead deny, we instead ridicule, we instead, to cover the truth. We neither follow, we neither listen the messengers, nor listen the part of us, maybe conscience or another person in our life, telling us that Birkan, telling me that Birkan, there is something there. Why don't you listen? Why don't you, check whether it is true or not? Just do it. This is the purpose of your life, trying to make sense of things. try to see purpose in things, try to see meaning behind things. This is what it means to be human. You are a human being. Try to read the universe, try to make sense of it, try to understand it. But I actively, as Yusuf said, active atheist, whatever it is, I actively deny, I actively cover, I actively ignore all the messages. And hence, Quran tells me, if this is so, if you won't fulfill your humanity, if you will not take creation around you any serious, if you will not try to listen, try to understand what they say, what they mean, there's no point of you wasting the air on this earth. You are not fulfilling your purpose. You're just living like an intelligent, let's say, animal. And intelligent here only means the ability to make some calculations. If this is so, you're just wasting the skin that you have on you. You don't deserve all this beautiful existence given to you. All these different faculties, human faculties that you are bestowed with to make all the infinitely many connection with the reality, with the creation. You do not utilize them. You do not use them. You waste them. You don't deserve them. So I guess this idea of distraction, idea of punishment, it's something internal. It's something, comes as a consequence of my state, my mindset. That if I'm not utilizing my human capacity to make sense of creation, only see it as things happen and I'm just following how many times X happened and then Y happens. If I'm just counting things, if I'm not using my human faculties, then I'm actively destroying them. Then I'm actively extinguishing them. So I deserve to be addressed with such a verse that you don't deserve anything but destruction. You don't deserve anything but extinguishment. And this is what you experience. This is what you choose for yourself. So if you are not following prophets, again, in the literal sense or metaphorical sense, if you are not following prophets, if you are not following, listening your conscience, then you're not fulfilling your humanity. You're not doing your duty. So you don't deserve to live. And it continues as it was not but one shout, or I guess we can also translate it as it has not been anything other than a shout. And immediately, right after then, it's used as they were extinguished, but also can be translated as they are nothing but, the ones who extinguished. So why I'm highlighting these different options, we can also read this verse as talking to us right now. There's we will study what it means with one shout, but I guess verse is telling me that, as Abdurrahman is saying, do not expect something extraordinary. It is just one shout that you hear, which destroys you. This is what only thing you need to be extinguished. And what is this shout? What shout? Like, am I hearing any shout? I'm asking this question like to give a clue of my methodology, how I approach it. So if my creator talking me about a shout, it should be a shout that I can confirm, that I listen, that I can hear. So what shout he's talking about here? And if you don't mind, I will jump to the next verse. It will help us to understand. So Abdurrahman, please, and then Ashanur, if you don't mind.
يا حسرة على العباد ما يأتيهم من رسول إلا كانوا به يستهزئون ألم يروا كم أهلكنا قبلهم من القرون أنهم إليهم لا يرجعون.
How regretful for the servants, there did not come to them any messenger except that they used to ridicule him. Have they not considered how many generations we destroyed before them, that they to them will not return?
Thanks a lot. Thank you. So any comments, anything that attract your attention so far, and also your comments regarding the previous verses, or how previous verses make more sense now in light of these new verses? What do you think? I'm just waiting a few seconds. Oh, Ashanur Abdurrahman, please go ahead.
I'm just helping you because you're very tired, my zombie brother. Zumbi. So, I feel that we've been kind of discussing this since the beginning of Yasin, where this idea of a messenger comes and you deny, then another messenger comes and then you deny, then another one and you deny, and then another person comes and you deny that person. It's just constant denying. And here the creator is saying, how regretful for the servants. It's like pity. It's like pity that they didn't follow. It's like, it's pitiful, like sad. Rather than even like anger, there's like sadness there. And then, every messenger that comes, you just ridicule them. It doesn't matter if 1,000 messages come, or 10,000, or an infinite amount of messages could come, but all of them, you're just in the state where you're ridiculing them. You're just completely denying them. Like, it's not even where you have, let's say, the sincerity where, like, let's say, okay, 10 messengers come, you're like, okay, there's something here, and 100 come, you're like, okay, it looks really good, and then 1,000 come, you're like, all right, this is convincing. Like, you're not even at this state where you're open to such a, if you like, a quantity of messengers come, then you're open to accepting it. Like, in my life, how could I like experience this is, let's say I experienced, let's say, the message of like how a caretaker, like I look at my past and history and how like I've been raised by my mom and parents, and then I'm like, oh, there's like a message of a caretaker there, and this is one message, and then later in my life I have another message of another caretaker, and I'm like, okay, it seems that these messages that there in fact is someone that's taking care of me, a being that's taking care of me, it would convince me, like it would build up. But then in some messengers, like some messages, you just don't like it. You just convince yourself that this is evil, this is bad. If this is created, if a car crash is created, then this is evil and this is bad. There's no message there. I will ridicule it. And this can be in any aspect of your life. And then the next verse, so I'm going to tie it to that. It says, like, have they not considered how many generations we destroyed before them, that they to them will not return? And it's like you choose to ignore the message, you choose to deny the message in, let's say, the events in your life. And if you look in your own life to your past, when you chose to deny the message, you saw that it only led to your ruin. You're the one that was unhappy. You're the one that was suffering. You're the one that was in despair because you said this is evil. You said this is bad. There's no message here. No, I'm going to be angry and I'm going to ridicule it. I'm going to ignore it. You had this attitude towards it, and you saw that this only led to your own darkness and despair. And Cain, like the message, like, I mean, the verse is speaking directly to me. It's saying, like, look at your own life, how you choose to deny the messages and where it takes you. Like, don't you see that following that path isn't going to take you anywhere? Like, why don't you actually come? Why won't you return to the truth? Why don't you return to the message? So I just saw that the verse was speaking about my life in that way.
Additional tidbit. Yeah, I just, The first phrase there, a sentence, is interesting to me. How regretful for the servants. It says, al-ibad, and it doesn't say like how regretful for the kafirun or munafiqeen. This, like, to me, I usually understood, an abd as someone that is in acknowledgement of God, or someone who worships him. And I think for me it's very easy to say, yes, indeed, how regretful for them. Not me, because I acknowledge God, but no, for them. But it's saying, even you who, even if you consider yourself that or try to be that, you are constantly still ignoring or not recognizing the messengers in your life. And it's kind of just trying to, I guess, like keeping me on my toes to not get too complacent with myself. So that was just something that I wanted to add.
These are really the great points indeed. Like the one, for instance, the last thing Aishanur mentioned, it is how grateful for servant, ibadi, right? So the ones who worship God, abd. So it is not same thing, it seems, believing in God and following the messengers. You might be saying that, yes, there must be a creator. I didn't create, obviously, any of these. There must be a creator. It must be a powerful one. And I need him to create me. I need him to sustain me. And, satisfy my needs constantly. I need him. So I worship him in that sense. But as people of town said at the very beginning, I might at the same time say, oh, no, this Rahman, this most gracious one that I worship, they haven't sent down anything from up high, from the Sema. He didn't send any messenger so that I would follow. Every man for, every person has their own responsibility. Who are you to, tell me what to do? I'm just like another person like you. So we are all equal, whatever it means. This identity politics, very popular nowadays. We are all identical. We are all, so I use the word in the wrong context, but anyway, we are all equal. In front of before God. So there's no such thing as messengers. I might be saying that. So this verse is that the verse tells me that exactly. This is what I'm telling you, Birkan. And this is your state most of the time. You worship God, but you think you can rule your own life. But you think that you don't need any model to follow. You don't need to try to understand what happens around you. You don't take them as messengers. So there is one comment from the Ahnaf and Aram, a beautiful one. Let me read it. If we look at the messengers as not just humans, but natural phenomena, just as Brother Yusuf mentioned, that active atheist, or let's say this atheist side of us, would deny it being from God. That's really important. That's true. And again, like we can apply this to ourselves as well. Imagine yourself, how you live your life when something happens that you don't like. Your mother comes and starts shouting at you. You take it from your mother, whatever you experience. You don't say, oh, my creator is trying to tell me something here. We don't do that usually. We deny them being from God. Oh, Atik, please go ahead.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Oh, your voice is really, really low. Okay, while waiting for him to change the microphone. So making connection with the previous verses, it was saying us that a single shout, one shout, would be enough for you to destroy you. And Atik, please go ahead. But still, I cannot hear you. Maybe you should just adjust the volume.
Assalamu alaikum.
Yes. Okay. Now.
Okay. So I just wanted to mention that what I noticed, or what stood out to me in all these verses, is the immense mercy of God, that first he would send all these people, first he would send them a messenger to call these people to him, and they would reject him, the messenger, and then he would send them another one, to further drive his message. And if that fails, he sent them another one. And you would expect after that, God would be very angry, and that these people would be so arrogant to reject his message and his messengers, and he would obliterate them. Well, he did do that. But even having done that, God shows or expresses regret over these people's decisions. That he's not saying, oh, well, hey, they deserved this, they got what they deserved, and too bad for them. He's saying he feels regret for these people, and he calls them servants. And we, as Muslims, we might not call these people servants. They don't even believe in God. They reject the messengers. They don't do anything for God. But I think that it's in God's mercy to feel hope for these people, that despite them doing all these things and rejecting him and his message, he still feels hope and some compassion for them. He still wants them to come back to him. So that is all.
Thank you very much. That was really important. And when we take it for ourselves, we will see also that this distraction extinguishing us is then another act of mercy as well. So before Yusuf, you speak, just let me make the connection, and then I will inshallah leave mic to you. So we were saying that one shout would be enough to extinguish. And now he says, have they not considered how many generations we destroyed before them, that they to them will not return? Now he's talking about death. Like, look around, look at the people before you. From your worldview, because you either do not believe God, or even if you believe God, you do not the message that the messengers brings you, the message which talks you about hereafter. You don't believe this. So all the people who died so far will not return. This is your worldview. They just gone. They are nothing. And this is what awaits you. Death awaits you, and you will be nothing. Don't you see that? And this reminder, facing the death, facing the truth of the death, my creator tells me that it's enough for you to be destroyed. Everything you build, everything you think you created with your hands, everything you work really hard, everything will be gone, because that awaits you. That awaits every moment of you. Every pleasure you have, every pleasure that you work really hard to get, will leave you alone. They will last a few seconds, a few minutes, maybe hours, and then they will be gone. That awaits you. And this shout of truth, this reminder of the truth, is enough for you to be destroyed. If this is the life you want to live, if you want to live as if there is nothing more beyond, if this is the life you want to live as if there is nothing more after, then death awaits you, and it is enough for you, just even thinking about it, enough for you to be destroyed. So we see these recent events, our pandemic. Check yourself how much anxiety we have now facing that. Everything we value changed. Priorities we had, they are all changed. It is true for me, it is true for you, it is true for everyone that I interact with. Everything they build, they're gone, destroyed. Because now they face the reality of the death. Now they can hear the shout clearly that you will die. And according to you, there is nothing more. This is enough for you to be destroyed. Yusuf, please go ahead.
Jazakallah khair. Actually, this very last point that you made is very beautiful. So the armies are not coming from the skies. The shout is coming from within the earth. Because every action, every event that happens is shouting us that there is death. Every sunset is shouting us that there's death. Just like this day has ended. Like even every rose that blooms is also shouting us that there is death. Because when you buy those roses, cut them, bring them to home, you know that they are going to fade away. So everything is shouting to my face that as long as there is no skies, there is no eternal realm, there is no God, there is no messenger for me. If I take everything on the face value, it's just a car accident, it's just a sunrise, it's just the rain, this and that, then death keeps shouting at me and annihilating all my hopes. And with the verse number 31, explicitly now it says, look at all the great people that came before you. Because I want to be that best scholar or best scientist, best Muslim scientist, whatever, doesn't matter. If I take Muslim as a sort of a national identity. So look at all those that came before you. What happened to them? They became ashes, like pretty much like ashes or dust with the death. All the titles, all the achievements and everything does not benefit them anymore, which is, as you very beautifully said, awaiting me. So a shout from within the earth is enough to annihilate all what I considered as me. Because all my hopes, they just disappear immediately. I was, a few days ago, a friend shared a link. There was like a young person, like young meaning 42 years old. As I'm getting old, 42 becomes a young age nowadays. So this person was at a good place of his career. He was like a sports commentator, like for soccer games. So one day after one of those big matches, I guess he was commentating on some Inter Milan match. So he was working at the international level. So after the match, he has some pain in his stomach. His friend says, go to the doctor. And later on, they found out that there's cancer. And this person says, that moment changed my life. Up to this moment, I was interested in what to wear, how to appear, what people think about my commentating those soccer games. After this moment, all of them perished. He says just the fact that he knows he's going to die because of cancer, and although cancer was there, he was shouting, but he was not aware of it up until getting to the doctor. So, but after this point, that person became so much aware that actually everything is just started to fall apart. So everything starting to get annihilated, getting perished, and eventually this person recently passed away. So, but this is the case for me as well. And belief is not binary actually. It's not either I believe or I don't believe. Uh, like because there is like life is so vast, I might be considering that God is the creator of the earth, the globe, let's say. But when it comes to my small actions, as you were giving the example of my mother shouting at me, or me shouting at someone, uh, or I don't know, like some, as we have been giving the example of car crash from the very beginning, seemingly random acts. So I'm not finding the creator in there. No matter I identify myself as a Muslim or not, as a believer or not, I might be an unbeliever or unsubmitter in the sense of not being a Muslim, not acting according to my convictions. I might be an unbeliever or non-Muslim at certain points of my life. These certain points might be a lot, not a few. So I guess this verse is saying that uh, so face off with yourself. So how does death work for you when it comes to your career plans, for example? So is it acting like a annihilator? Is all my future plans becoming like ashes when I think about death? Then that means my future plan has nothing to do with the creator. If my future plans were somewhat related to the creator for an eternal life, then the news of death wouldn't make them irrelevant for me. I would say, well, it doesn't really matter. I will work as I used to be working. But if that is changing the equation, then that means, yes, I'm not listening to the messengers. Actually, I am ridiculing the messengers. And this was something interesting also, if anybody wants to give it a shot. What does it mean? How do I practically ridicule a messenger? I would be curious to hear about that.
Jazakallah khairan. Thank you. Thank you very much. So I guess one way we, most of us, so it's always hard to say I in such examples. So let's say we ridicule messengers is that we listen to them. We say, oh yeah, whatever he says, whatever he does, it makes sense. But when it comes to applying in my life, I just ignore it. I say, oh, it's not for me. I mean, he's a wise guy. He's talking, great. Whatever he says makes sense, but not for me, So I guess not applying the message in my life is, although I explicitly say that, yes, you are a messenger, the message you carry comes from the God, when I do not apply it in my life, I practically ridicule the messenger. Yusuf, please go ahead.
So, like I was just making a hypothetical question, like is making cartoon of prophet is how people ridicule the messenger, the prophet. But I guess to give an example, like I'm by training a computer engineer. So when I tell people that I'm a computer engineer, they would tell me, oh, do you know how to do computer games like Super Mario? Can you write Super Mario game? So now I'm imagining a case like a person who is like a professor of computer science, and a person comes and asks to that computer science professor, can you write Super Mario for me. This would be like ridiculing this person in terms of the potentiality that that person is coming up with. If you are expecting that professor to, I mean, rather than solving any real life problems that you can come up with or that you have that can be solved using computers, you are asking that person with all its capacity to write you a very simple computer game. Likewise, either I am totally ignoring the message of the messenger, or what am I expecting from the messenger? Although this messenger with his message should solve my real problems of where am I going to? Where did I come from? Death is just around the corner, and actually every moment of me is dying. So solve that problem for me. This is what the messenger is there for. And then I'm not even asking those questions to the messenger, but going and asking the messenger about very mundane questions, or trying to get very like, what is the age of Earth? I don't know. Like trying to extract some messages, such messages from messenger's behavior, or how to live a healthy life by following prophetic diet. I might even be reducing the messenger to that level, or I might be taking messenger as a philosopher without who does not have any dimension that looks to the eternal realm, but just as you said, a very wise man. All of these would be practically ridiculing the messenger. Just like a person, another example of ridiculing a teacher reminds me of a person, a student who is sitting at the very back seat of the classroom. Teacher is trying to teach something, and this, I would say, kid or childlike personality takes off the phone and starts looking at playing with the phone. This is another way to ridicule. So I guess if I'm not paying attention to the message with the full capacity of the messenger, and either not taking the message or the messenger seriously, but treating the messenger as like another human being, I guess practically me, a person who identifies himself as a Muslim, might very well be ridiculing the messenger.
So then not ridiculing messenger is to read the message in a way that connects me with my creator, with my sustainer. Everything about the messenger is about divine. It's about my Lord. It's not mundane. It's not about earth. It's not about how to grow vegetables better. It's not about how to have a great marriage. It's not about the ethics of life. It's not about the governance of society. Everything about the messenger is about my Lord, my relationship with my Lord. So it doesn't mean that I wouldn't follow the messenger's daily activities as well, but I would follow them to extract the meaning about my Lord. So messenger wouldn't, for instance, tell me or show me what kind of food to eat to be healthy, but rather he would tell me how am I going to eat food, with what mindset, so that it will remind me my creator. Maybe outwardly action wouldn't change, like I would in both cases, I would follow his practice, I would follow the way he eats food, but the point wouldn't be being a healthy man, but it would be being a worshipper of my Lord. This is how we not ridicule the prophet. But when we say we drink water in 3 sips, oh, because it's good for intestines, this is ridiculing prophet. But instead, when we say we drink water in 3 sips, because our Prophet taught us that with every sip, you find the time to reflect and think about your Creator. You respect the water that you drink, which is created by your Creator to sustain your needs. And also, it is the property of your Creator. So it is Him to tell you how to drink water. He has all the right to tell you how to drink water. You cannot come up with a, your own way. These are the mindsets, these are the ideas that we have, reasons that we follow Prophet's actions. Otherwise, we will be ridiculing him. And finally, and indeed all of them will yet be brought present before us. Again, this translation has a bias towards historical understanding, or let's say a temporal understanding. So I'm not saying I'm not saying that this translation is wrong, like hasha. I don't have probably 1,000th of their knowledge about how to translate Arabic, how to translate Quran. May God forgive me if I have such an intention in mind. But rather what I'm saying is, it is also possible to read this verse so that it will apply to me in the moment. And when I look at the verse, actually, the like brought present before us, Jami'un and then Darun, they're both in the noun forms. So they are in the present sense. They can be applied independent of time. So you can understand this verse as indeed you or they are brought before us all the time. So every moment of you dying, so you're returning to me. With every moment passing, you need me to give you existence. You have to face me every moment. This is this is your reality. Don't forget that. Again, don't forget death awaits you. Facing this reality, facing that you face me every single moment, because you don't have anywhere to escape. You cannot give existence to yourself. You need me with everything you have. Facing this is enough for you to destroy whatever you have, whatever you built. I was talking to a friend several months ago, before the pandemic, and he was telling me how he feels ready to death. Like he built a great empire of his own. He's really successful. He did everything he would imagine in his career. He's leaving a heritage, leaving a legacy behind him. And these are true. Like when it comes to him, I genuinely believe that he's right in that sense. So he was ready to die. And then this pandemic happened. Now I learned he even changed his life, his family life, not seeing his or not spending time with his children anymore, because he was afraid, he's afraid to die. So everything he built was destroyed. Every legacy, every heritage he built was destroyed with a single shout that a tiny virus can kill you. This is your reality. So of course, like a similar way Yusuf narrated this story, the reason I'm narrating this story not to talk about other people and ridicule them, My creator, as I always say, my creator wouldn't gossip with me about other people. He wouldn't show me how they fear death to ridicule them. He shows me these examples to check myself and see that I have the same problem. As a believer, I think I build an empire of worship. I'm ready to die. I'm ready to go and enjoy the pleasures of heaven. Although, you know, from time to time, out of humility, we say, oh no, of course, it's our creator who would decide who would go to heaven. I'm not sure whether I'm going to heaven or not. But deep inside, we think, we believe that our belief, that our active, unlike active atheist, being an active Muslim, joining all these discussions, praying 5 times, fasting, if we are able to, going to Hajj, you know, sacrificing animals, whatever, everything we do, we build a great empire of worship that will, with the grace of our creator, place us in heaven. And one day, my creator tells me with this experience, showing me, my friend, one day, Birkan, when you see the reality of that, all will be destroyed. And you will be trembling alone. Every moment I brought present before him, I don't have anything that I can accumulate. I don't have anything that I build. Every moment goes back to him. Every achievement of mine goes back to him. So I guess this is all from me for this week. So before, again, I lost myself in the excitement and close the discussion. Just like last time, let's hear your final remarks, inshallah. I'm waiting a few more seconds, otherwise I will close the discussion, end the discussion. Okay. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. الفاتحة.